Hello again, you beautiful people! Today I am going to review Jackaby by William Ritter. Now, unbeknownst to me, apparently this book is kind of sweeping through the booktube community, and I just picked it up because I really liked the cover. And then, as I've said before, right there at the bottom it says, Doctor Who meets Sherlock. That is quite a high and mighty comparison, and not one that I can just let slide by. So that is the main reason that I picked this book up. I had to see if it lived up to that expectation, and you know what, guys? I really felt like it did. Now, to be honest, in the first chapter, when the character Jackaby is first introduced, I was a little disappointed. I thought, oh great, this is just going to be a complete rip-off of Sherlock. And I really don't need another Sherlock imitation in my life right now. But in chapter 2, I realized that Ritter had taken it in a completely different direction. This guy is not as much a Sherlock Holmes copycat as I thought he was initially, and it made me so incredibly happy. Doctor Who meets Sherlock? Try Doctor Who meets Sherlock meets a grown-up Spiderwick Chronicles, and you're a little closer to the mark. I thoroughly enjoyed this story, and I really felt like it lived up to expectations. It wasn't just naming the big names to pull them in. It's an astute observation, and if you're a Doctor Who and Sherlock fan, definitely give it a try. There is a slew of quirky and interesting characters in this book, and I love that. I always love it when there are just a whole bunch of really fun characters. The world and ambiance is a cross between the Victorian era and the Brothers Grimm, which totally worked for me. Now, it does warn you up front in the cover flap here that it is macabre. There is some blood. Jackaby is basically a private detective who specializes in unexplained phenomena, and he is on the case of a serial killer. There was one problem that I did have with this book. More of a peeve than a problem, okay? So the main character is Miss Abigail Rook, and she is a young woman who has just run away from home in search of a life of adventure, and she stumbles across this ad that Jackaby has for an assistant, and she thinks, this is it, an adventurous life. So Abigail is thrust into this world where she doesn't understand or even conceive of a lot of the things that Jackaby knows of firsthand. A lot of the dangers, a lot of the threats, and she just has no clue because, I mean, this is stuff she's never even heard of before, right? So I was just disappointed that not Jackaby or any of the people that he works with, because there are some people in the story that know just as much about the unexplained as he does, and none of them ever, like, give Abigail some pointers or tips. They never, like, say, here's a book of myths and fairy folk and dangerous creatures that you might want to be aware of so you can be on the lookout for them if you ever happen to run into any. Or like, here are some wards that might work against these creatures, or here's a knife so you can protect yourself if you're in a dangerous situation. This was the big failing in the story for me, especially because Jackaby is so aware of the dangers because he's already had some incidents with some of the other applicants who applied for the assistant's position. I mean, there have already been incidents, and so he's aware that these people are walking in off the street without any knowledge of the world that they're getting into, without any preparation, and there are incidents. And so that is what really kind of drove me nuts about the story. If it turns out that this is a character flaw of Jackaby's, I wouldn't mind it. I would be totally okay with that. Because Jackaby is portrayed as very focused. He has tunnel vision when he's working on a project, so he just doesn't think of these other things. He's very much like Sherlock in that respect. So if it's just like this didn't ever occur to him, and because it's a character flaw and he's kind of absent-minded when it comes to these things, I have no problem with that. That was my one pet peeve with the story, and I probably expounded on that way too much because it's not as obvious as I made it sound. This is Jackaby by William Ritter, and this book gets 4 stars. Now, the reason that it doesn't get 5 stars is because I did quite frequently skim through sections of description. I don't always have the patience for long blocks of description that I feel aren't always terribly relevant to the story. And I felt that some of the elements of the mystery took a little too long for the characters to get to. Don't get me wrong, I loved this book. I thought it was a wonderful concept. I really, really liked it. I'm really looking forward to the sequel that I believe is coming out in September. Kudos to William Ritter for putting together like 3 of my favorite things. In case you're curious, that is folklore and mythology, Sherlock, and gritty Victorian era murder mystery. And you used a few of my favorite things, and now I don't feel so bad. Because apparently everybody needs just a little singing solo. So basically that's it. Jackaby by William Ritter. 4 stars. If you like folklore used in a new way, you'll love this. If you like Doctor Who and Sherlock, you'll love this. If you want a grown-up version of Spiderwick, seriously, dude, do I have to keep saying it? You'll love it. Go grab a copy, read it, and I'd love to hear what you think. Alright? Alright. This is Amanda out.